The Deep Space Monitoring Station, Harmony's voice, drifted silently through the void between star systems. Its crew of 12 beings from different worlds worked together in the peaceful routine they had known for decades. Ambassador Zethkri of the Volani Collective stood before the main viewing screen, his forearms folded behind his back as he watched the stars. His skin glowed with the soft blue patterns that showed he was content. "Ambassador," called out Navigation Officer Thren, a crystalline being whose voice chimed like wind through caves. "We are detecting unusual energy readings from system designation 847H. Zethkri turned toward the navigation station, his large black eyes focusing on the data streams flowing across the screens. The energy signatures were unlike anything in their databases. They pulsed with a rhythm that seemed almost alive yet clearly artificial. "How unusual?" he asked, moving closer to examine the readings. "The patterns suggest faster-than-light technology, but the configuration is completely unknown," Thren replied. "The emissions are aggressive in nature, very different from standard Council technology." This was indeed strange. In the 3,000 years since the Galactic Council had been formed, they had encountered 847 different species. Each one had eventually joined their peaceful confederation after the standard first contact protocols. The pattern was always the same: initial confusion, then wonder, then gratitude for being welcomed into galactic civilization. "Set course for System 847H, Zethkri ordered. "Prepare the first contact package. Standard diplomatic approach." The ship turned smoothly and engaged its hyperdrive. Within hours, they emerged at the edge of a yellow star system. What they found there made every crew member stop their work and stare at the displays. Ships, hundreds of them. Metal vessels of unknown design moved between the planets with purpose and speed. Some were massive, larger than anything the Council had ever built. Others were small and fast, darting between the larger ships like schools of fish. "By the Seven Suns," whispered Communications Officer Yella, her tentacles trembling with excitement. "They already have interstellar travel. This species developed faster-than-light technology on their own." Zethkri felt his skin patterns shift to orange, the color of deep concern. In all of galactic history, only 5 species had achieved faster-than-light travel without Council guidance. Each of those species had been incredibly dangerous until they learned the ways of peace. "Begin standard first contact broadcast," he ordered. Universal peace symbols, mathematical sequences, and the standard welcome message. The ship's powerful transmitters began sending the carefully designed signals that had worked with every species they had ever encountered. The message was simple: "We come in peace. We wish to share knowledge. You are not alone in the universe." For several minutes there was no response. Then suddenly every human ship in the system turned toward their position. "Ambassador," Yella's voice was tight with worry, "we are receiving a response." "Excellent. Play it." The voice that came through the speakers was harsh and sharp, unlike the musical tones most species used for communication. "Unknown vessel, you are in restricted space. State your business or leave immediately. You have 30 seconds to comply." Zethkri blinked all 4 of his eyes in confusion. This was not how first contact was supposed to go. Where was the curiosity? The wonder? The joy at discovering they were not alone? "Transmit peaceful intentions again," he ordered. "Add the gift offering. Share our basic technology schematics as a sign of goodwill." This time the response came faster. "Unknown vessel," we said, "state your business." "We don't want your gifts. Who are you and what do you want?" The ambassador looked around at his crew. In 3,000 years of history, no species had ever refused their gifts. The gift offering was the sacred first step of joining galactic civilization. "Open a direct communication channel," he decided. "Let me speak to them directly." The screen flickered and suddenly Zethkri was looking at something he had never seen before. The creature on the screen had only 2 arms, 2 legs, and 2 eyes. Its skin was a pale brown color with no patterns. Most shocking of all, it appeared to be wearing some kind of military uniform. "I am Ambassador Zethkri of the Galactic Council," he began, using his most diplomatic tone. "We have come to welcome your species into the galactic community. This is a joyous day for your people." The human on the screen stared at him for a long moment. Then it did something completely unexpected. It laughed. "Galactic Council? Let me guess. You're here to tell us we're now part of your little club, whether we like it or not." No, no, Zethkri said quickly. The Council is a voluntary association of peaceful species. We offer knowledge, protection, and friendship to all who wish to join. Protection from what? The human asked, and now its voice was cold. From the dangers of space, from hostile forces, from the loneliness of being alone in the universe, Zethkri explained, using the words that had convinced hundreds of species to join them. The human leaned forward. We've been alone in the universe for our entire history. We've faced every danger our world could throw at us, and we've never needed anyone's protection. What makes you think we need yours? Zethkri felt his skin patterns shifting to deep purple, the color of complete bewilderment. But surely you understand the benefits of joining galactic civilization? Advanced technology, peaceful trade, cultural exchange. What we understand, the human said, is that strangers don't offer gifts without expecting something in return. You can take your counsel and your protection and your gifts, and you can leave our space. Now. The transmission ended abruptly. Zethkri stared at the blank screen, trying to process what had just happened. In the background, alarm signals began to sound. Ambassador, Thren called out urgently. Multiple human vessels are approaching our position. They have weapons powered and shields raised. Through the viewing screen, Zethkri could see them coming. Sleek, dangerous-looking ships that moved with deadly purpose. Unlike council vessels, which were built for peace and exploration, these ships were clearly designed for war. Receiving another transmission, Yella announced. This time, a different human appeared on the screen. This one wore a different uniform and had the bearing of a military commander. Alien vessel, you have 10 minutes to leave this system. Any attempt to establish permanent stations, plant monitoring devices, or contact our colonies will be considered an act of war. Do you understand? Zethkri tried once more. Please, there has been a misunderstanding. We only wish to offer friendship. Your friendship, the human commander said, looks a lot like every other empire that's ever tried to take our freedom. We fought those wars before and we won. Don't make us fight them again. The transmission ended and the human ships took up positions around the council vessel. They did not fire, but their message was clear. Set course for the nearest council station, Zethkri ordered quietly. Emergency speed. As the Harmony's voice jumped to hyperspace, Zethkri slumped in his command chair. In 3,000 years of first contact missions, this had never happened. No species had ever refused to join the council. No species had ever threatened them. No species had ever told them to leave. What do we do now, Ambassador? Asked Yella. Zethkri looked at the data they had gathered about the humans. These beings had achieved faster-than-light travel on their own. They had built weapons that could threaten council ships. Most disturbing of all, they seemed to view any offer of help as a potential threat. We report to the High Council, he said finally, and we hope they know what to do about a species that refuses to be civilized. But even as he said it, Zethkri wondered if the problem was not that the humans refused to be civilized. Perhaps the problem was that they had already civilized themselves in a way the Galactic Council had never seen before. In the depths of space, the human ships returned to their patrol routes. On Earth, military leaders gathered in emergency session to discuss the alien contact. The message they sent to all human colonies was simple. Unknown aliens have made contact. They claim to represent a galactic government. We have refused their offers and ordered them to leave. All colonies are to maintain defensive positions and report any further alien contact immediately. The galaxy had just met a species that preferred independence to protection, conflict to cooperation, and freedom to safety. For the first time in thousands of years, the Galactic Council faced a problem they did not know how to solve. The humans, meanwhile, began preparing for what they assumed would be the next phase of contact: war. 3 weeks after the first failed contact, the Galactic Council's most skilled diplomats gathered on the massive space station, Peaceful Unity. The station hung in the void between galaxies, its gleaming towers and gardens a symbol of the harmony that had reigned for millennia. High Counselor Vexnari, an ancient being whose crystalline body contained the wisdom of 10,000 years, presided over the emergency session. Representatives from dozens of species filled the great chamber, their various forms creating a rainbow of colors and shapes. The situation with species 847H grows more concerning, Vexnari announced, his voice resonating through the chamber like singing crystal. They have rejected 3 more diplomatic missions. Ambassador Zethkri stood to address the assembly. His skin patterns had remained a worried orange ever since returning from human space. Honored counselors, these humans are unlike any species we have encountered. They view our offers of friendship as attempts at conquest. Perhaps we approached them incorrectly, suggested Counselor Miratel, a graceful being whose flowing movements resembled water. What if we offered them technological gifts? Surely they would see the benefit of our advanced systems. We tried that, Zethikri replied. They demanded to know why we were offering gifts and what we expected in return. When we explained that joining the council brings mutual benefit, they accused us of attempting to bribe them. Murmurs of confusion rippled through the assembly. The concept of refusing technological advancement was alien to every species present. What about cultural exchange? Proposed Counselor Thakmore, whose multiple heads allowed him to consider several thoughts at once. We could send them art, music, literature from across the galaxy. We transmitted some of our finest cultural works, Zethikri said. They responded by asking why we thought they needed our entertainment and what we were trying to distract them from. The chamber fell silent. For species that had spent thousands of years sharing knowledge and culture freely, the human response was incomprehensible. High Counselor Vexenari's inner light dimmed with concern. Perhaps they fear we are technologically superior and want to establish equality first. We could offer to learn from them as well. We tried that approach last week, Zethikri continued. We sent xenobiologist Dr. Salenthi to offer a scientific exchange. The humans demanded to know what information we wanted and why we needed it. When Dr. Salenthi explained we were simply curious about their biology, they declared the meeting over and accused us of conducting reconnaissance. Counselor HFY, a being of pure energy who communicated through controlled light patterns, flickered with agitation. In 3,000 years, no species has ever misunderstood our intentions so completely. What are we missing? The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Sarah Chen, Earth's lead xenobiologist, had agreed to a single communication session after weeks of human military leaders debating whether any contact should be allowed at all. Her image appeared on the great screen, transmitted from a secure facility deep inside human space. The assembled council members studied her with fascination. She was only the second human they had ever seen. Dr. Chen, High Counselor Vexenari, began carefully. We are grateful you agreed to speak with us. We wish to understand why your people view our peaceful intentions with such suspicion. Dr. Chen looked directly at the camera, her expression serious. Because peaceful intentions from a vastly superior power are indistinguishable from threats when you've grown up in a universe where the strong prey on the weak. But we have never preyed on anyone, protested Counselor Miratel. We offer only friendship and mutual benefit. That's exactly what every empire in human history has said, Dr. Chen replied. The British Empire claimed they were civilizing the world. The Romans said they brought peace and order. Every conqueror in our history has justified their actions by claiming they were helping the people they conquered. The council members exchanged confused glances. These historical references meant nothing to them. Dr. Chen continued, You have to understand our perspective. You appear out of nowhere with technology far beyond ours. You claim to represent a galactic government that somehow includes nearly 1,000 species. You offer us gifts and membership in your organization. From our point of view, this looks exactly like every historical attempt at imperial expansion. But the benefits are real, Zethikri protested. Advanced medical technology, interstellar travel, cultural enrichment, all things we can develop ourselves, Dr. Chen interrupted. We've survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and environmental disasters. We've gone from stone tools to faster-than-light travel in 10,000 years. Why should we believe we need your help now? High Counselor Vexenari tried a different approach. Dr. Chen, surely you can see that cooperation is better than isolation. Together we can achieve things that no single species could accomplish alone. Dr. Chen was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was patient but firm. Counselor, let me tell you a story. There was once a man who lived alone in the wilderness. He built his own house, grew his own food, and defended his land from wild animals. One day, a group of people from the city came to visit. They offered to let him join their community. They would give him a house in town, provide him with food, and protect him from danger. She paused, looking directly at the High Counselor. The man asked what he would need to do in return. The city people said he would need to follow their laws, pay their taxes, and accept their authority. They were genuinely confused when he told them he would rather keep his independence. But surely he could see the benefits, Councillor Thakmore said, with all four of his heads speaking in unison. That's exactly the point, Dr. Chen replied. You see your offer as beneficial. We see it as a choice between freedom and security. And humans will choose freedom every time, even if it's more dangerous. The chamber fell silent as the council members tried to process this alien concept. They had built their entire civilization on the principle that cooperation was always better than independence. Dr. Chen continued, Your council may be genuinely peaceful and benevolent, but from our perspective, any organization large enough to include 1,000 species has the power to destroy us if we displease you. You're asking us to trust our survival to your good intentions. No human society has ever made that bargain willingly. What would it take for you to trust us? Asked Vexnari. Time, Dr. Chen said immediately. Lots of time. Maybe hundreds of years. You could start by respecting our decision to remain independent and proving that you truly mean us no harm. We could establish trade relationships, suggested Councillor Miratel. Commerce builds trust. Only if it's between equals, Dr. Chen replied. We won't accept charity, and we won't be junior partners in someone else's empire. If you want to trade with us, it has to be as equals, with both sides benefiting fairly. Ambassador Zethkri felt his skin patterns shifting to deep blue, the color of dawning understanding. Dr. Chen, are you saying that humans would be willing to interact with individual council species, but not with the council as a whole? That's exactly what I'm saying, she confirmed. We might be willing to talk to the Villani Collective about trade agreements, or discuss scientific exchange with the Crystalline Union, but we will never acknowledge the authority of any galactic government. We didn't fight for thousands of years to gain our independence just to hand it over to aliens. After the transmission ended, the council chamber erupted in discussion. Some members were offended by humanity's refusal to acknowledge their authority. Others were fascinated by this new perspective on galactic civilization. High Councillor Vexenari called for order. It seems we face an unprecedented situation. For the first time in our history, we have encountered a species that prefers independence to membership. What do we do? Asked Ambassador Zethkri. We learn, replied the High Councillor. And perhaps we discover that there is more than one way to live among the stars. But even as he spoke those words, Vexenari wondered what would happen if other species began to question whether the Council's protection was worth the price of their independence. The humans had introduced a dangerous idea into the galaxy, that freedom might be more valuable than safety. In human space, Dr. Chen ended her report to Earth's leadership with a simple conclusion. The aliens appear to be genuinely peaceful, but they don't understand that peace and freedom are not the same thing. We need to be prepared for a long period of careful interaction, while they learn to accept our independence. Neither side realized that their fundamental misunderstanding would soon lead to the greatest crisis the galaxy had ever faced. 6 months had passed since the first failed contact with humanity, and the situation had grown worse instead of better. High Councillor Vexnari stood in the Council's emergency session chamber, watching as heated debates raged among representatives who had not argued about anything in centuries. This cannot continue, declared Councillor Rygoth, a massive being whose rocky exterior reflected his stubborn nature. The humans have now refused contact with 17 different species. They treat each of us as potential enemies rather than members of a unified council. Ambassador Zethkri, who had become the reluctant expert on human affairs, activated the holographic display. It showed the current status of human space, a sphere of systems marked in aggressive red. The humans have established what they call defensive perimeters around their territory, he explained. Any council ship that enters these zones is immediately challenged and escorted out. Escorted out by whom? Asked Councillor Miratel. By heavily armed patrol fleets, Zethkri replied grimly. They've militarized their entire border region. High Councillor Vexnari's crystal form dimmed with concern. This level of military activity is unprecedented. In 3,000 years, no species has felt the need to defend themselves against the Council, because every other species was smart enough to accept our protection, growled Councillor Rygoth. These humans are clearly too primitive to understand what's good for them. They're not primitive, Zethkri corrected. Their technology is advancing at an incredible rate. Our intelligence reports suggest they've improved their weapons and defensive systems significantly since first contact. The chamber buzzed with worried conversations. The idea of a species that grew more dangerous over time, rather than more peaceful, was terrifying to beings who had spent millennia in harmony. Dr. Yelenshi, the Council's chief scientist, projected her findings for all to see. The humans' technological development is unlike anything in our databases. Most species plateau after achieving faster-than-light travel. The humans are accelerating. The holographic displays showed human ship designs evolving month by month. What had started as crude but effective vessels were becoming sleek, deadly machines that incorporated ideas no Council species had ever considered. They're weaponizing everything, Dr. Yelenshi continued. Their cargo ships carry military-grade shields. Their scientific vessels mount heavy armaments. Even their civilian transports are built to survive combat. This is exactly why the Council exists, Councillor Thakmore stated with all four of his heads nodding in agreement. To prevent species from following this path of perpetual warfare, High Councillor Vexnari made a decision that would change galactic history. We must implement standard containment protocols. For the safety of the galaxy and the humans themselves, we need to establish a protective boundary around their space. A quarantine? Asked Ambassador Zethkri, his skin patterns shifting to alarmed purple. A protective barrier, Vexnari corrected. We'll position monitoring stations at key points around human space. No hostile forces will be allowed to threaten them, and they'll be prevented from expanding until they learn peaceful ways. The vote was unanimous. Every council member agreed that containing the humans was the safest option for everyone involved. They had used this approach before with difficult species, and it had always worked eventually. Within days, massive council stations began appearing at the edge of human space. Each station was a marvel of peaceful engineering, designed to monitor, protect, and gently guide the contained species toward civilization. The human response was immediate and explosive. Admiral Sarah Mackenzie, commander of the Human Defense Force, stood before the emergency session of Earth's unified government. Her uniform was crisp, her expression grim, and her words carried the weight of humanity's future. Ladies and gentlemen, the aliens have declared war on us, she announced without preamble. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Prime Minister Chen raised his hand for silence. Admiral, explain your assessment. The aliens have constructed military installations at every exit point from our space, Mackenzie reported. These installations are armed with weapons we can't identify and shields we can't penetrate. They've effectively imprisoned us in our own territory. But they haven't attacked, pointed out Defense Minister Petrov. They don't need to attack, Mackenzie replied. They've cut us off from the rest of the galaxy. This is exactly what an advanced civilization would do if they wanted to control us without the messiness of direct conquest. Prime Minister Chen studied the tactical displays showing the alien stations. What are our options? Limited, Mackenzie admitted. We can't break through their barriers with current technology, but we can make sure they know we won't accept captivity. The decision was made quickly. If the aliens wanted to contain humanity, they would discover that humans didn't contain easily. Within hours, human fleets began dispersing throughout their territory. Fast scout ships launched toward the most distant human colonies, carrying orders that had been prepared months ago. Secret shipyards, hidden in asteroid fields and gas giant atmospheres, began working around the clock. The humans had learned an important lesson from their own history. When a superior force tried to contain you, the key to survival was making sure they couldn't find all of your assets. Ambassador Zethkri was reviewing peaceful containment protocols when the emergency alerts began sounding throughout the monitoring station. His skin patterns flashed to bright red. The color of crisis. What's happening? He demanded. Communications Officer Yella was working frantically at her station. Ambassador, we're detecting massive fleet movements throughout human space. Ships are scattering in all directions. Scattering? Are they fleeing? No, sir. They appear to be taking up strategic positions. We're tracking at least 300 vessels, but the numbers keep changing. Some ships are disappearing from our sensors entirely. Zethkri studied the displays with growing alarm. The humans weren't cowering behind their defenses as expected. Instead, they were spreading out like a virus, establishing positions throughout their territory that would be impossible to monitor completely. Sir, Yella continued. We're receiving a transmission from the human leadership. The image that appeared on screen was not Dr. Chen or any of the diplomats they had spoken with before. This was Admiral Mackenzie, and her message was delivered with military precision. To the aliens who have blockaded our space, she began. You have made a serious mistake. You seem to think that surrounding us will make us helpless. Let me explain something about human history that you clearly don't understand. She gestured to a holographic display behind her showing Earth's ancient past. Every time a superior force has tried to contain humanity, we've found ways to break free. The Romans couldn't hold back the barbarian tribes. The British couldn't control their colonies. The Nazis couldn't contain the resistance movements they created. The display shifted to show human space as it existed now, not a contained bubble, but a network of hidden bases and mobile fleets. You've succeeded in making us angry, Mackenzie continued. And angry humans are dangerous humans. We're not trapped in here with you. You're trapped out there with us. The transmission ended, leaving Zethkri staring at a blank screen. Around him, his crew worked frantically to track the dispersing human fleets. Ambassador, called out Tactical Officer Dren, we're losing contact with human ships faster than we can count them. It's like they're vanishing into space itself. Within days, reports began coming in from across the galaxy. Human ships were appearing in systems that should have been impossible for them to reach. They weren't attacking, they were establishing hidden outposts and supply depots in places where the Council had never thought to look. Dr. Yalenshi presented her analysis to an increasingly worried High Council. The humans have done something unprecedented. Instead of trying to break through our containment, they've made it irrelevant. How? Demanded Counselor Raygoth. They've gone underground, she explained. They're building a hidden empire using techniques we've never seen. Stealth technology, mobile bases, supply networks that exist in the gaps between our monitoring systems. High Counselor Vexenari felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. Are you saying we can't contain them? I'm saying they've made containment meaningless. They're not trying to break out. They're preparing for a war we didn't know we were starting. The realization hit the Council like a shockwave. Their peaceful containment had been interpreted as an act of war by a species that had spent its entire existence preparing for war. Back in human space, Admiral Mackenzie concluded her briefing to the Defense Council with a simple statement. The aliens have superior technology and numbers, but they've made the classic mistake of underestimating a cornered opponent. They think this is containment. We know it's siege warfare, and humans have been breaking sieges for thousands of years. Prime Minister Chen asked the question that would define humanity's future. What's our next move? We show them that containing humanity is impossible, Mackenzie replied. And we make sure they understand that their peaceful galaxy just became a very dangerous place. The Galactic Council had tried to cage humanity for its own good. Instead, they had taught the human race that the galaxy was full of potential enemies who would need to be watched, outmaneuvered, and if necessary, defeated. Admiral Sarah Mackenzie stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, humanity's newest warship, watching as the alien monitoring station grew larger on the main screen. The station was beautiful in its own way, all flowing curves and peaceful, architecture that spoke of a civilization that had forgotten what war looked like. That was about to change. Admiral, reported Commander Torres from the tactical station. The alien station is hailing us. Same message as always. Turn back or be escorted away. Mackenzie studied the alien construction through the view screen. The monitoring station was massive, easily 10 times the size of any human vessel. Its shield shimmered with energy patterns that human scientists still couldn't fully understand. By every logical measure, it should be able to destroy the Defiance without effort. Open a channel, she ordered. The screen flickered and Ambassador Zethkri appeared. His skin patterns were showing deep orange. What humans had learned meant extreme worry. Admiral Mackenzie, he began, you are approaching a Council monitoring station in violation of the protective boundaries. Please alter course immediately. Ambassador, Mackenzie replied calmly. This station is positioned in the Kepler 442 system. That system contains 2 human colonies and over 50,000 human citizens. By any measure, this is human space. The boundaries are for your own protection, Zethkri insisted. There are forces in the galaxy that would harm your species if you expanded too quickly. Mackenzie smiled, but it wasn't a friendly expression. Ambassador, let me share something with you. In human history, whenever someone has told us they're protecting us, it usually means they're controlling us. We've decided we don't need your protection. Admiral, please be reasonable. Your weapons cannot penetrate our shields, and our defensive capabilities far exceed your ship's ability to. The transmission cut off abruptly as the Defiance fired its main weapons. But the humans hadn't aimed at the station. Instead, their weapons targeted the space around the station. Empty vacuum that suddenly erupted in brilliant explosions as hidden human minds detonated in perfect sequence. The monitoring station, which had been scanning for ships and weapons, had completely missed the months-old minefield that surrounded it. Ambassador Zethkri felt his skin patterns flash to shocked white as his station shuddered under the impact of the explosions. The mines hadn't damaged the station. They couldn't penetrate Council shields. But they had announced something terrifying. The humans had been here first. How? He whispered, staring at the tactical displays that showed dozens of explosion points around his supposedly secure position. Admiral Mackenzie's voice came through the speakers, calm and professional. Ambassador, you should know that humans have been in this system for 6 months. We've been watching your people build that station from inside the asteroid belt. We know exactly how many crew members you have, what weapons you carry, and how often you rotate your shifts. On the monitoring station's bridge, Tactical Officer Dren was frantically scanning the asteroid field. Ambassador, I'm detecting at least 12 human vessels hidden in the asteroids. They've been there the entire time. That's impossible, Zethkri protested. Our sensors would have detected them. Your sensors were designed to detect Council technology, Mackenzie's voice replied. Human stealth systems work on completely different principles. We've been studying your scanning method since the day you arrived. The tactical displays lit up as human ships began emerging from hiding places throughout the system. They appeared from behind asteroids, from within the gas giant's atmosphere, and from positions that should have been impossible to reach undetected. Dr. Yalanshi, monitoring the situation from the Council's main fleet, watched in horror as her sensors revealed the true scope of human infiltration. High Counselor, she reported, this isn't just one system. We're detecting human presence in over 30 systems that we thought were secure. High Counselor Vexnari's crystal form flickered with disbelief. How many ships do they have? We don't know, she admitted. Their ships keep appearing and disappearing. Some of them seem to be using our own sensor blind spots against us. Back at the monitoring station, Ambassador Zethkri tried to maintain diplomatic protocol even as his worldview crumbled around him. Admiral, surely we can resolve this peacefully. The Council has vast experience in... Ambassador, Mackenzie interrupted. Let me stop you right there. We've done our research on your Council. 3,000 years of peace. 847 species living in harmony. Very impressive. She paused, and when she continued, her voice carried a note of something that made Zethkri's skin patterns shift to deep purple. But here's what you don't understand. All of those species accepted your protection because they needed it. They were young, weak, or isolated. We're none of those things. The main screen shifted to show footage that made every Council member who saw it freeze in terror. Human soldiers training in combat that looked nothing like the ritualized conflicts of civilized species. Human factories producing weapons designed for destruction rather than defense. Human cities built to survive bombardment from space. You see, Mackenzie continued, while your species were learning to cooperate, we were learning to fight. While you were building a peaceful civilization, we were perfecting the art of war. You've had 3,000 years of peace. We've had 10,000 years of conflict. Commander Torres looked up from his station. Admiral, the alien station is powering up weapons. Mackenzie nodded. I was wondering when they'd try that. Shields up, all weapons ready. Ambassador Zethkri made the decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life. Power up defensive systems. Prepare to disable the human vessel. The monitoring station's weapons, designed to gently disable uncooperative ships, fired their stunning beams at the Defiance. The beams struck the human ship's shields and did nothing. Impossible, whispered Tactical Officer Dren. Our weapons should have overloaded their systems. Your weapons were designed to stop ships that use Council technology, Mackenzie explained patiently. Human shields work differently. We studied the weapons you used on aggressive species in your historical records and designed our defenses specifically to counter them. The Defiance returned fire, but not with the weapons the Council expected. Instead of energy beams or missile weapons, the human ship launched something that looked like a simple metal rod. The rod struck the monitoring station's shields and passed right through them. "Shield penetration," Dren shouted in panic. "How did they penetrate our shields?" "Kinetic impact weapon," Mackenzie replied over the communication channel. "A simple metal rod accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed. Your shields are designed to stop energy weapons and explosive devices. They're not designed to stop a chunk of metal moving fast enough to punch through anything." The rod struck the station's hull, and alarms began sounding throughout the structure. The damage was minimal. The rod was too small to seriously threaten such a massive station. But the psychological impact was devastating. For the first time in 3,000 years, a Council installation had been successfully attacked. High Counselor Vexnari received the report with a sense of growing dread. "They penetrated our shields?" "Completely, sir," Dr. Yalenshi confirmed. "The humans have developed weapons specifically designed to counter our defensive systems. It's as if they studied our technology for the specific purpose of defeating it." "That's exactly what they did," admitted Ambassador Zethkri over the communication link. "Admiral Mackenzie has informed me that human scientists have been analyzing every piece of Council technology they could observe. They've spent months designing countermeasures. The High Counselor felt something that no Council leader had experienced in millennia: military defeat." "What are their demands?" Admiral Mackenzie's response was broadcast to the entire Council leadership. "We don't have demands. We have a simple message. Remove your monitoring stations from human space and acknowledge our right to exist as an independent species. If you do this, we'll leave you alone. If you don't..." She gestured to the tactical display showing human forces throughout the galaxy. "If you don't, you'll discover just how creative humans can be when it comes to making their neighbors regret hostile actions." The transmission ended, leaving the Council leadership in stunned silence. "They're not trying to conquer us," Vexnari realized. "They're not interested in destroying the Council or enslaving other species. They just want us to leave them alone. And they're willing to fight the entire galaxy to maintain their independence," added Dr. Yalenshi. For the first time in its history, the Galactic Council faced an enemy that was both powerful enough to threaten them and restrained enough to offer peace. The humans had demonstrated that they could penetrate Council defenses, outmaneuver Council fleets, and strike at Council installations, whenever they chose. But they had also demonstrated that they would stop fighting the moment the Council acknowledged their independence. It was a kind of warfare the Council had never encountered: violence in service of peace, aggression in defense of freedom. "What do we do?" asked Councillor Rygoth, his rocky exterior betraying none of. 1 year after the first shot was fired at a Council monitoring station, High Counselor Vexnari stood in his private chambers, staring out at the stars through the crystalline walls of peaceful unity. His inner light had dimmed considerably over the past months as reports continued to arrive from across the galaxy. The humans had kept their word. After the Council agreed to remove the monitoring stations from human space, not a single human vessel had attacked another Council installation. But the damage to the Galactic Order had already been done. Ambassador Zethkri entered the chamber, his skin patterns showing the deep blue of resignation. "High Counselor, we have another situation developing." "Which species this time?" Vexnari asked without turning around. "The Cathari Confederation. They've withdrawn from 3 Council joint operations and are demanding renegotiation of their membership terms. They cite the human precedent as justification for increased autonomy." Vexnari's light flickered with weary understanding. "How many does that make?" 17 species have now requested modifications to their Council agreements, Zethkri reported. "None have left entirely, but they're all demanding greater independence. The humans have shown them that Council membership doesn't have to mean Council authority." The High Counselor finally turned to face his ambassador. Over the past year, Zethkri had become something unprecedented in Council history: a specialist in managing non-cooperative species. "What about the humans themselves?" Vexnari asked.
"Any progress on establishing formal relations?"
"Actually, yes," Zethkri replied, and for the first time in months his skin patterns showed a hint of hopeful green. "Dr. Chen has agreed to meet with representatives from 6 individual Council species to discuss limited trade agreements." "Individual species? Not the Council as a whole?" The humans remain firm on that point. They'll deal with the Vellani Collective as the Vellani Collective, and with the Crystalline Union as the Crystalline Union. But they refuse to acknowledge any overarching authority. Vexenari considered this, and the species involved are willing to conduct independent negotiations? More than willing, Zethkri admitted. The Vellani are particularly eager to trade for human metallurgy techniques. The humans have developed alloys that our scientists find fascinating. What do the humans want in return? Information, Zethkri said immediately. Not technology or weapons, but knowledge about galactic history, other species, and navigation data for unexplored regions. They're planning expansion, but they want to do it carefully. The High Counselor moved to his desk and activated the galactic display. The map showed Council space in its traditional peaceful blue, but now there were scattered patches of independent yellow where species had renegotiated their relationships with the Council. Are we losing control of the galaxy? He asked. No, Zethkri replied thoughtfully, but we're learning that control and cooperation are not the same thing. The humans have taught other species that they can be part of galactic civilization without surrendering their independence. A soft chime announced another visitor. Dr. Yalenshi entered, carrying data tablets that Vexenari had learned to associate with uncomfortable revelations about human activities. High Counselor, she began, I have the final analysis of human technological development over the past year. Please tell me it's slowing down, Vexenari said hopefully. I'm afraid not. If anything, it's accelerating. But the direction has changed significantly. She activated a holographic display showing human ship designs. The vessels that appeared were unlike anything they had seen before. Sleek, powerful, but clearly built for exploration rather than warfare. The humans have begun what they call the Great Expansion, Dr. Yalenshi explained. They're sending colony ships to systems beyond Council space, not to challenge our authority, but to establish their own independent territories. How far are they going? Zethkri asked. Far, she replied simply. They're targeting systems that we've classified as too dangerous or too remote for colonization. Places where even the Council hasn't established a presence. Vexenari studied the projected human expansion routes with growing amazement. They're willing to colonize systems that we consider uninhabitable? They don't consider them uninhabitable, Dr. Yalenshi corrected. They consider them challenging. From what we've observed, humans actually prefer planets that require effort to terraform. They seem to enjoy the struggle of making hostile worlds livable. The High Counselor felt his understanding of the universe shift once again. They're not trying to take our territory. They're creating their own. Exactly. And they're doing it in regions where no Council species wants to go. Ambassador Zethkri activated his communication device. High Counselor, Dr. Chen is requesting a direct communication. She says it's important. Put her through. Dr. Sarah Chen's image appeared in the chamber. Over the past year, she had become the unofficial human ambassador to the galaxy, though she steadfastly refused any official title. Counselor Vexenari, she began, I wanted to inform you personally about humanity's expansion plans. We know the Council monitors our activities and we don't want there to be any misunderstandings. Dr. Chen, Vexenari replied, we appreciate your transparency. We understand you're establishing colonies beyond Council space. That's correct. But there's something else you should know. We've encountered other species out there, species that aren't part of your Council. The chamber fell silent. In 3,000 years, the Council had believed they had contacted every spacefaring species in the local galaxy. What kind of species? Dr. Yalenshi asked urgently. Hostile ones, Dr. Chen replied bluntly. We've made contact with 3 different groups that appear to be actively aggressive toward any sign of advanced civilization. We've had to fight them off from 2 of our new colonies. Vexenari felt his inner light dim to barely a flicker. Are you requesting Council assistance? No, Dr. Chen said immediately. We can handle them. But you should know that they exist. Your Council's peaceful expansion may have been limited to regions where aggressive species weren't present. We're finding them in the areas you avoided. Ambassador Zethkri understood immediately. You're saying that the galaxy is more dangerous than we thought, and humans are the ones exploring the dangerous regions. That's exactly what I'm saying. And here's the thing. These hostile species know about the Council. Some of them have been watching you for centuries, waiting for an opportunity to strike. The implications hit Vexnari like a physical blow. The Council's peaceful expansion had been possible, partly because they had unconsciously avoided the regions where truly dangerous species lived. The humans, with their assumption that the universe was hostile, had gone straight into those regions and discovered threats that the Council hadn't known existed. Dr. Chen, he said carefully, "Are you suggesting that humanity serves as a buffer between the Council and these hostile forces?" "I'm not suggesting anything," she replied. "I'm telling you what's happening. We're establishing colonies and defense networks in regions that border both Council space and the territories of species that would probably attack you if they thought they could win." Dr. Yalenshi looked up from her data analysis. "Dr. Chen, our records show at least 15 Council species that have established research outposts in what we thought were empty systems near your expansion zone." "Those systems aren't empty," Dr. Chen said grimly. "3 of them have hostile forces within a few light years. If those research outposts are discovered, they'll be attacked. What do you propose?" Vexnari asked. "Information sharing," Dr. Chen replied. "We'll provide you with intelligence about hostile species in your border regions. In exchange, you provide us with navigation data and system surveys for the regions we're expanding into." Ambassador Zethkri felt his skin patterns shifting to surprised yellow. "You're offering to protect Council interests without asking for membership or authority recognition?" "We're offering to be good neighbors," Dr. Chen corrected. "We handle the dangerous species. You handle the peaceful exploration. Everyone benefits." After the transmission ended, the 3 Council leaders sat in contemplative silence. "They're offering us protection," Vexnari said finally. "Without asking us to submit to their authority," Zethkri added. "Without even asking for formal recognition," Dr. Yalenshi concluded. The High Counselor moved back to the star map and studied the projected human expansion zones. For the first time in months, he felt something approaching optimism. "Perhaps," he said slowly, "we've been thinking about this wrong. We assumed that humanity's independence was a threat to galactic civilization, but what if it's actually a strength?" Ambassador Zethkri's skin patterns shifted to thoughtful green. "A species that chooses to be helpful rather than being required to help. A species that protects others without demanding authority over them," Dr. Yalenshi added. 6 months later, Ambassador Zethkri filed his final report on Human-Council relations. It would become the most widely read document in Council history. Recommendation regarding Species 847H, humans. Do not attempt integration. Maintain respectful diplomatic relations through individual species contacts. Accept that humanity will remain independent regardless of Council policy. Observation: the humans have established the first successful alternative to Council membership in galactic history.